Friends, we have an exciting episode for you today. I've been looking forward to this episode my entire life. It's going to be unique. We're going to decode what it takes to become a DecaMillionaire, especially for business owners who are working so hard to serve the people that you have the honor and privilege to serve, all the while trying to leave a monumental impact on your family and your friends. And that is tough. Well, today I'm going to throw back the curtain with this guest. I've known this guest my entire life. Welcome, my mother. Let's say whenever I say you, I'm going to refer to you and Pops. We call my dad Pops. So who is Alan and Terry Goodbread?
A Christian, a Christ follower. I am the wife of two wonderful husbands that have went to be with the Lord, and I'm the mother of three very successful children.
What did you and Pops instill into the three children throughout our journey, even today, as they're still instilling? What did y'all instill into us that led to the success that people look at and they're like, what? And so that's what I want to talk about. So let's go way back. Let's go way, way back to the beginning of time. Talk to me a little bit about you and Dad before I was in the picture. Where did y'all come from? Were you affluent? Were you born and raised highly educated? What was y'all's life?
Pops and I both came from dysfunctional families. Textbook dysfunctional. The only issue is that we were out of two buckets. So our dysfunctions were very different and the Lord brought us together. We became Christians right after we got saved. I went to college. He was a carpenter and we started our life journey. Pops' family were very poor and not educated. My family, my father was in the military, very educated. My mother was very educated. A very intelligent middle class. And then it diminished.
So you didn't come from money?
No, neither one of us came from money.
And you didn't come from this pedigree of Ivy League education and things of that nature?
No.
So just common everyday Americans?
That's it.
One of the earliest memories I have was a little house we lived in on Enterprise Street. At that phase, I was only probably maybe 4, 5, 6 years of age, somewhere in that range. At that time in y'all's life, what was y'all's vision for us as kids?
To grow up healthy, wealthy, and wise. Healthy, physically healthy. I meant spiritually healthy, financially healthy, personally healthy, socially healthy, healthy.
What does wealthy mean?
Live the lifestyle they choose to live and to help others.
And what is wisdom?
Knowing right from wrong and living it.
So what changed from that conversation? You're like, hey, my kids are 4 years old and 2 years old and 1 year old, or whatever the age was. What happened from that point to say, now I'm going to now yield this result? What transacted there that changed y'all's life?
Pops and I had the challenge to define where we wanted our children to be when they left our home. That person gave us the challenge to look forward and to identify where we wanted our children to be specifically, and then to seek the road to do that.
As you begin thinking through that challenge, what is it that you ultimately landed on that, hey, we are deciding to go in this particular direction?
We discovered that we were not doing anything or very much to get them to the goals that we wanted to get to, that we wanted y'all to get to. And therefore, we had to rethink what we were doing as parents in order for you to become what we felt you needed to be when you left our house. And that's whenever we had to make some big life changes. The main one was we decided to homeschool our children.
I want to come to homeschooling in a second, but they challenged you and they said, hey, by the time they leave the house, what do you want them to become? What was it that y'all internalized and you dedicated your lives to become?
We wanted them to be biblically strong in their person and in their character. We wanted them to be physically healthy, which means they had to do certain things to do that. And we wanted them to be enabled and capable of succeeding in whatever career or lifestyle they so choose.
From that decision, you said y'all made a monumental decision. Talk to me about that turmoil, that decision you made, why you made that decision, and ultimately how you saw at that point. I don't want to dive into the results, but at that point, how you saw that playing out.
You were in the 4th grade, Sarah was in the 2nd grade, and Grant was in the 1st grade. And we took y'all out of school and chose to homeschool you. That was in the late 80s.
The late 80s, you decided to homeschool. Was homeschooling popular back then?
It was legal in the state of Georgia. We had rules and regs to follow, and we did that, but it was not. We were faced with so much opposition and condemnation and rejection. Oh my.
So, friends, just for context that we have now a data point on, this is 40 years ago. And at that time in the United States, there was less than 15,000 total homeschooling students in the entire United States. I live just outside Knox County, Tennessee. There's 52,000 students in Knox County, Tennessee, to give you some reference. At that particular point in time, there were less than 15,000 nationally, and many states did not allow homeschooling, but Georgia did. Where did you receive opposition from?
The easier question would be, where did we not receive opposition from? Okay, we received opposition from everybody except each other, mainly Pops. I oppose, and his words back to me were, if anybody can do it, you can do it. You taught them to read before they went to school. We have everything you need. And that was my strength.
But despite all that, y'all decided to make this particular path anyway.
We felt like we had no other choice. We felt that this is what would work to get our children to be what we wanted them to be. That we had to be intentional and definitive and focused and dedicated to raising our children to be successful in all aspects of their life.
Why didn't you quit?
We believed in ourselves because we knew what we knew, and we knew what our passion is, and we knew where our dedication was, and we were willing to do it. We were willing to take the chance.
At what cost?
All of that opposition, being broke, living different, being weird, being rejected, whatever. We felt that we had to do it. And we wanted to.
But at that time, there were not textbooks. And I can remember textbooks coming from your medical stuff at the hospital. I remember reading anatomy from the hospital and collegiate level books. I remember seeing, college level history books. How in the world did two people from a dysfunction family who just simply had a desire and made a decision, how in the world did you know even how to educate us?
Everything that Pops and I learned through those years you're talking about, the books, the conferences, the tapes, we taught y'all. We read the books to you. We listened to the tapes many, many times. And we had to reprogram our vision in our minds to, it's not just a dream. Somebody owns it, why not us?
I can remember going to Mandino, Charlie Tremendous Jones, Larry Burkett, Ziglar. I remember Dr. Miles Monroe. So many people. I remember sitting in front of them, 10 years old, 11 years old.
Little.
But more importantly, y'all were internalizing that, and you were basically speaking to us at that level, the same things you were learning as a time of an adult. What transpired through y'all's ignorance, and you and I both use that word tactically here, but what transpired through y'all's ignorance that shifted from two people that were raised in dysfunction who are trying to now shift your own mindset through having people speak into your life, and now you're responsible for these three kids that you broke the system on, and you're pushing them through this path that's not many people have ever gone before. Some might call trailblazers in front of you. How in the world did you take all of that and craft it in a way that was palatable for kids to be able to radically change their lives?
Anybody that I knew that had anything that I could use, I used them. And what I found was they were so excited to share. I remember physicians, scientists, professors, investors, musicians, farmers, historians, chess, anything that I could find that would fit to grow you into broader exposure and be able to make it applicable to life.
Well, so here I am at 46. My piano teacher was from Juilliard. My chess instructor was a master. My history instructor was a college professor. The person who taught me finance didn't even realize I was going to be in the finance industry and taught me to trade stocks off the sheets of Wall Street Journal. I was taking speech class from PhDs who taught speech class, and here I'm talking on a daily basis. The medical doctors taught us science. I can't add up everybody.
I can't either.
We had successful business people teaching us business before we even decided to go into business. How in the world did you convince a a team of people that had invested thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of today's dollars into their education to come and pour it into 3 kids?
The people that we're speaking of, they love to share. They love to teach. They love to give. And they found children and people that would accept that. That's really all it was, is they were just willing. Oh, wow, this is so cool that these people would want to hear what I know.
So you crafted our whole education around experts.
Exactly.
Did you have any idea at that time, whenever you're communicating with these individuals and you're sharing your vision, and you realize that you can't pay them for their time, did you have any idea at that time what the future of your 3 children was going to be? Could you see it at that early stage, or could you see a glimpse, or was it just blind faith saying, I'm just going to do anything I can to equip them in a broad brush?
The latter. It was just, I've got everything I can come up with, I'm going to use. If it will help, if it will impact, then God will take it and make it go where it needs to go.
There was a shift, though, that something happened, and we came into business. And I remember the business people that you and I both know and trust, they began talking to our lives in their early teens. When did you identify that, hey, my children, because each of us are business owners, my children will excel in business?
I don't know that answer, but I do know when it started. And it wasn't me, it was your pops. He said, these kids have an ability that we did not use, he and I did not use. And we need to give it to them, and we need to put them in business and teach them business and everything that goes with it, so that whenever they step out, they are equipped and competent to do whatever they need to do.
So after y'all made that decision, what transpired next?
Pop said, let them cut grass, because we had the stuff to cut grass. And so I quit my job, my one job. I quit it totally, because I could teach y'all and work, but I couldn't do this and work. And so I quit the job, and y'all started the yard business from the very beginning with me as your tutor. Me telling you what to do, when to do, how to do, where to go, how to eval. And I stayed with y'all about a year. Yeah, about a year, and then I released you.
Walk me through that. What was it like during that season, whenever you're working with us and then you watch the business literally explode?
You 2 guys learned if you do X and Y, you will get Z. You also learned if you didn't do it right, you had to face mom or dad. We also had a code of ethics inside the house and outside the house that you maintained, so you were trustworthy. And you wanted to do it. You wanted to succeed already at that young age. It was a pleasure to watch you grow into that.
But you didn't have any business training, so how did you know how to teach us?
I'm smart.
I get that.
How did I do it? I asked somebody if you could cut the grass, and they said yes. And you went and they all cut the grass. And I said, okay, you got to evaluate the grass. You got to talk to them. You got to give them a receipt. You got to follow up with them. It's natural.
It's natural, but so many people don't do that. So many people will resist. I'm thinking of parents that I know right now who have that same desire, but then they start moving forward and they realize, oh my goodness, I've never done this before, and it stops them. They don't move past that. They feel like they're not trained, they're not equipped, they didn't get the college education. So what I'm trying to dig into is, why did you quit making the most amount of money you ever made in your life to work part-time, and why simultaneously did Pops move from a career to an entry-level position? Why did the 2 of you take your lives, turn it upside down in your head because of this dream with no excuses whatsoever, and go forward?
We didn't have any other options. We didn't think what we saw outside of our life was successful, and we didn't have anything to lose. We were survivalists. We were raised to be survivalists, do whatever it takes. So whenever I say we were dysfunctional, yeah, it's an ugly story, but we were survivalists. And maybe God put that in there so that we could be survivalists to teach our children. You can do this.
I could just imagine somebody listening to you right now saying, wait a second, you're telling me you had a 16 and 14-year-old that liked to work hard, already knew about money, had a code of ethics, etc. How do you teach that?
We had a set of rules, spoken and unspoken, that we followed inside the house and outside the house. We talked about our dreams a lot. We talk about there's no limit. We live in America. We lived it all your lives in front of you, and now I got to watch it display. All we did was give you the mode to do it. There were no wasted moments. There were no wasted moments. Even our playtime was not wasted. It was so intentional, but it wasn't rigid. We had a great time. So it was learning to live life. And we taught you. We taught you how to live life without going to jail. And then to implement those. Your daddy letting you build the house with him when you're a little fella. Letting you go hunting with real guns. Believing in you, teaching you, allowing you to experience. Letting you grow your own credibility within yourself. Whenever y'all started the yard, only thing we had to teach you was make a business transaction. You knew how to run the equipment. You knew how to do everything. You even knew my standard. So that wasn't the hard part. Now, I had to get you a first few jobs, and then you sold yourself. The only thing that was hard was the lack of money in our house because of the transition.
Let's talk about that. So we transitioned. You were making significant income. In fact, an income that you never rose back up to after these changes. So you sacrificed your career for the kids. Pops changed jobs radically, went from making reasonable middle-class income to beginning wages at the Georgia Port Authority in the same time frame. So y'all just drastically changed your life. And here we are, 3 kids homeschooled. But all of a sudden through our business, my brother and I each are making more income than you and Dad combined. How do you explain that?
It worked. All those years of input and the desire in the Lord, it worked.
One of the things that I love to teach in the DecaMillionaire Decoded podcast is this mindset that you have to have belief, some people might say faith, in your vision. For somebody out there who's thinking about their children, maybe they're a business owner like me. Maybe they desire to be a business owner. Maybe they're like you and Pops and you weren't business owners, but you want to change it and you want your kids to be a business owner. What advice would you give to somebody listening to us that says, I'm watching my children, how do I identify their potential journey, their potential vision for their life?
The first thing I tell them is you have to believe that God gave you your children and that you are God determined before he ever spoke creation, that you are going to be the parents to those children and you are the best parents in the world for those children. You were designed and created to be those parents. Therefore, you have everything that those children need if you'll just grasp it. That's biblical. The second thing is you have to identify where you want them to be when they leave your home. What are you raising for? Are you raising them to get through this school year, or are you raising them for life? And where do you want them to be to get them there? And that's individually. Every child is different. And then the next thing is, what are you doing to get them there? Do you have a goal? No, do you have a plan? Do you do it intentionally? Pops and I raised y'all intentionally. We did lots of conferences. This ain't working, so we're going to do this. Or this is working, let's don't change this. There's got to be an intention. There's got to be some preparation in your own person. And then you have to believe everything I just said to you and take a step. What do you got to lose? What if it works? That's all I tell them. What do you want? You mean I can do it? Yeah, you can do it.
Well, then how does somebody gain that belief, that confidence?
You get around positive people. You read good books that tell you who you are and what you've got going for you, and you read it and you read it and you read it until you believe it. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So you got to know where you are. You got to know who you are. And for instance, I didn't teach you how to write because I don't know how to write. I hired a college professor to teach you how to write. So you know you're weak, but it's doable. And especially today in our lifetime, it's everywhere out there. We're one in however many. That would be it, just mainly belief. And then willing to do it.
What happens when you fail?
I don't think you can fail big time. I don't think that a parent can fail unless they abandon. Even if you have a rascal, you can't fail. And then if a child decides to do something different, that's between them and God, not me and him and me and God. That's their decision. What you become is your business now, buddy.
Very successful people are often concerned about how they're going to appear. They aren't bold to speak their beliefs. They aren't bold to take that action. They don't walk with confidence to step out in faith in that vision that they have. How would you advise that individual who is maybe paralyzed at this point because of that fear, because of that excuse-itis is what I say now? But how do you help them see that, look, just take one step?
I would say read some success stories. There's lots of them out there now. They're a dime a dozen. That's one thing. Read. Number 2, believe in yourself. Find out what you've done. What have you accomplished? What have you accomplished? And why don't you think you can do that? And then you got to take a risk.
So what I've heard thus far is that for someone to raise successful kids, it doesn't matter what their pedigree is in terms of their income, their status, their education, etc. They're going to have a clarified vision of what they want each of those children to accomplish whenever they leave that house. The parents are going to have to equip themselves in order to prepare to educate the kids. And that equipping does not necessarily mean they have to become a master at, psychology or algebra or anything else. It's more of a mindset equipping. What I've heard is that you've got to have belief. Faith might be the word I would use, but belief that you're going to accomplish this. Determination that you're not going to quit. And then you landed on this idea of this mindset. How in the world did you and Pops develop a mindset of success?
I would say first you have to instill the mindset into your own person. It has to be an ingrained belief so deep that you can't discard it. And then you have to walk your talk. You have to believe in yourself, and then you have to give that belief to your children. And then you have to live that mindset in front of them. You have to live it, you have to talk it, you have to walk it, you have to breathe it, you have to eat it with love, lots of love. And you do the hard stuff, and you find someone to do the stuff you can't do, and you trust.
But, if we look now through this journey, I can remember when Dad retired. He retired at the normal retirement age. You retired at the pre-normal retirement age, and you're not hurting for any type of lack.
I am well blessed.
Friends, it's been fun for me to have this conversation. I've tried to pull out some things from my life. I often say if a country boy born and raised on a dirt road could accomplish the things that God's allowed me to accomplish, anybody can. And I mean that with all my heart. But you see where I came from. So what's your excuse? What's your vision? What's that goal you have for yourself or for your children? If we can accomplish our wildest dreams, you can too. Y'all make it a great day.